Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic. Has that scary man gone now? I hope so, because I've got a stack of comics that I purchased on a Wednesday and I've read them all, and I'm here now to give you my thoughts, opinions, reviews of them. And it was a week of shocks. All sorts of different types of shocks, good and bad. And we're going to kick off with DC first, I think. And the comic book that everyone has kind of gotten a bit of a hoo-ha about, but mainly not because of what's inside. It's more what's on the cover. It's Batman issue 35, and it's only a small thing. It's the price. Yes, Batman issue 35 was put up to $4.99, and there have been many a discussion going around the internet. Is a comic book worth $4.99? Is it worth paying for? And my opinion of it is, I have to say I'm in a fortunate position, I guess, in the sense that I don't have a mortgage to pay out every month. I don't have kids to support. I have a pretty good cheap rent for what I have here, and so I have a lot of disposable income at hand. So when it comes to the price of comics, it's not necessarily how expensive they are. If I want them and I have that money on my account, I pretty much will buy them. With Batman 35, there are more pages in there, so you are getting extra for that dollar. Comic books are generally kind of 24 to 26 pages long. I just went through a few of my comics just now to check the page count in there, and they're all coming out at, I mean, Batman Eternal is 20 pages, but that's only $2.99. Black Science was 24 pages. That's $3.50, and what was another one I looked at? Astro City. That came in at 24, and if you include the cover, 25, because they're doing their Defy the Covers week, and that is $3.99. So you're getting roughly about 5 or 6 extra pages in this for that extra dollar. So really, it's a case of, is the inside worth paying that extra dollar, regardless of the extra 6 pages? Now, I have to say, it is and it isn't with this issue. Now, this is the start of Endgame, part 1, Scott Snyder's. It's another story set in the future. This is set after Batman Eternal, and it annoys me so much what DC are doing at the moment. When you had the pre-52, there was this sense of history, and it was rich, and there were so many places you could just dive in and just soak up that nostalgia, again, that history. These characters had a background that you could go back to and read, and in a way to catch up to where they were at the present. I feel with DC at the moment, everything is in the future. There's no history there, and there's barely a present. I mean, this does say it's set after Batman Eternal, but how far after Batman Eternal are we looking at? We've already had a glimpse of what Gotham looks like after Batman Eternal, because we had that kind of little one shot in between 0 years, Scott Snyder's last big epic on this Batman title, where we saw a glimpse of Catwoman being the kind of crime lord boss of Gotham. And this didn't feel like it kind of fitted in with that glimpse we had. It seemed a very kind of military state, kind of curfews going on. And this here, okay, it was in the daytime, but it seemed a very kind of, not bright, but it is a kind of flashy Gotham that we were looking at, regardless of the cloud of non-toxic gas that was going on over kind of Gotham city centre. And the main story here, it's not exactly original, is it? It's the rest of the Justice League battling Batman, and oh, what is going on? Why are they fighting Batman like this? Why are they so against him all of a sudden? And it's just an excuse to bring a huge fan favourite villain back. Yes, he's returned. It's the Joker. Now, this probably would have had a sense of impact and foreboding, because if only we hadn't recently, and I say recently, but Death of the Family, when he was the major villain there. And there has been such a gap from that in time sense to what is here, that you wonder, has he ever turned up in those intermittent years? Is this the first time he's turned up since then? There is no place to put this, and it makes it so annoying. I wish, just live in the now, DC. Just live in the now, the present. Tell me stories that are happening now that will create a history for your new 52 characters. It does make me wonder, given that we have, you know, Future's End, Endgame, is DC already giving up on their 52 universe, and we are going to go back to that pre-52 era? There have already been rumblings of pre-52 characters seeping into this new universe. I really thought DC would have made this last longer if this is indeed what they're up to. What was good about this was the backstory, and I think this is very much where your extra pages are coming from. And it's a very kind of dark, Batman-less. There's no Batman in this. It's a very dark, haunting story. Very kind of shades of horror going on there. And it looks like we're going to see some kind of not so well known Bat villains telling stories that are going to be connected to the Joker, but maybe without actually seeing Batman in them. So the backstory for me was the winner here. Another thing about the first story, I almost forgot to say, it's the artwork. I love Capullo's artwork. I've been a fan of his since I came across it when I was reading Spawn month in, month out, very, very early on. But here, all the characters kind of follow a certain kind of look. Even the women, even Alfred, they all have these kind of chiseled faces. There's no variation to it. Yes, it's very clean, it's very kind of pretty. It's what I call pretty art. And there's no denying that Capullo is a great artist. I am certainly not knocking him, but there's no variation in the kind of faces. And that kind of disappoints me. You know, I think he could do so much better here. But maybe given the constraints of how the characters are being used, he's not being able to do what he actually wants to do. I don't know, and I've spoken far too long about Batman already. Let's move on to the next comic. Now, I swear I did not know what was going to happen at the very end of this comic book. On Wednesday, Larissa commented on my Wednesday pull list video telling me that unfortunately she'd had to drop Astro City. This is Astro City 16. There are so many books out there that she wanted to get, and the books that weren't really doing it for her anymore had to go, and that's a very logical and sensible way to look at it. Why spend your money on a book that really is not doing it for you? And I kind of sympathised to her with this, because the very beginning of Astro City, there were two elements that really intrigued me and I wanted to know more about. We had this kind of giant of an alien land in the middle of Astro City, and it just stood there. And we had stories revolved around the people of Astro City and how they kind of related to the alien being and how it affected their lives. We also had this narrator of sorts, a purple man who spoke to us from the comic book panels and hinted that there was more going on, there was some danger going on behind the scenes, and that we had to keep our eye out for it throughout the title. And we got him for a little bit, and then he just kind of, they both just disappeared. And I wanted more of that. And it's not so much that the stories that followed it were, you know, they weren't bad. I really enjoyed them. That's why I'm still picking up Astro City myself. But I wanted more of the Purple Man. I wanted more of the giant alien. And what happened in the last panel of this book? The Purple Man returns. I'm so pleased that Kurt Busiek is coming, I guess, full circle back round to where we began with the Purple Man. However, that's not what this book is about, given that that was just hinted at on the last page. This is a kind of one-shot storyline about a superhero versus a supervillain. We have Starbright versus Simon Says. And we get the backstory of at least one of these characters. We don't find out who the other one is till right at the very end. But Simon Says started his kind of, I guess, teenager life by being one of those kids that got bullied for being different, for being clever, for being intelligent. He was a kind of child genius, surpassing obviously all his peers at school. And you know, when you're different, when you're not of the norm, you stand out like a sore thumb and you will get bullied, unfortunately. It's not the way it should be, but it happens. And so of course this kind of, all this stuff that happens to him as a young kind of teenager affects him to turning to villainous ways. And it's kind of a Superman versus Lex Luthor type of deal, I guess, in the kind of arch nemesis stakes. But on this one particular day, Simon Says asks Starbright to come and meet him at this location. He has some kind of information that he wants to let Starbright know. Now, he's asking for a favour, which seems quite strange. Which Starbright kind of agrees to, but says, you know, if I'm going to do this for you, you've got to do me a favour. I want to show you that your powers could be used for good. And he kind of makes Simon Says help Starbright quash crime in Astro City, basically, using his kind of genius intellect to let Starbright know where all these crimes are taking place, which he does. So Starbright returns the favour by throwing a 16th birthday party for Simon. Simon obviously is a loner, he has no friends, but he's 16. You've got to have a birthday on your 16th birthday. And so Starbright gathers together the people that weren't exactly friends of Simon, but they were in and of themselves kind of outsiders themselves, so they kind of identified with what Simon was going through. And they have a really great party. It's fantastic. And then at the stroke of 12, when Starbright's taken everyone home and come back to see Simon, Simon's like, that's it, the deal's over, we're back to being villains. And he makes this kind of half-hearted attempt at capturing Starbright. And it's a very kind of heartwarming part of the story, where this was really Simon's way of saying, thank you for doing what you just did for me. No one would ever do that, let alone, or it shouldn't really have been, my arch nemesis. Throughout this, we've kind of had this narration going through it, which is obviously from someone in the present day. And through the end of the story, we find out that the original Starbright has died, and someone has taken on that mantle. Now, if you haven't read this title yet and it's on your stack and you don't want to know the ending of this, please skip a little bit, because there's no way I can talk about this without spoiling it. What happens at the end is it's revealed that Starbright is actually Simon. Simon has taken on the mantle of Starbright, but there's an extra twist in there as well, in that Simon isn't Simon anymore. He's had, I guess, what you'd call gender modification. He is now female, which kind of makes sense in a way, for him feeling so ostracised, ill at ease with himself, feeling that he's not part of, you know, the whole high school life. He wasn't being himself, but now he is now a woman. That just sounds weird, but now he's a woman. He feels at peace with himself, herself. Damn it. And it was a very kind of, by the end of it, it was a very heartwarming story. I didn't see it coming, but it was a nice little one-shot from Kurt Busiek. Some really good art that you expect from Astro City, that kind of golden agey feel to it. So Larassa, I don't know if you've missed out so much on this story, but I think it's going to go back to how you used to like it. So you might be picking up Astro City again. I'm guessing after reading Batman Eternal issue 27, I can't be paying that close attention to what's going on in this mega series, because I haven't got a clue what is going on here. What's going on with the guys in the sewer with the stuff coming out their mouths? Why has Batman not told everyone that Bard is a villain? He's given him the information to free Gordon. He's clearly kept it to himself, which is why Gordon isn't out. So Batgirl, do you really need to be going and hanging Bard off ropes, off buildings, and letting him supposedly fall to his death in the streets below? Who is this Abanescu character? I have no idea what's going on there. And was Pink Flamingo really chasing Spoiler? Because there was no kind of idea that she was being chased from him in this issue whatsoever. She's just hiding out in an alleyway, and Pink Flamingo just seemed to have droned by when Batman was there. You know, wrong place, wrong time. It's one of those issues where there's so much going on, but so little is really happening. Batman and Catwoman have kind of teamed up to take down some fighting gangs, and we discover that it was Catwoman that tipped the two gangs off. She already seems to be playing all the gangs off together already. We already know that, you know, Catwoman is going to end up being this kind of crime lord of Gotham after Batman Eternal comes to an end. So here we are, see it already kind of making plans, picking the week off, I guess. We've got Killer Croc going kind of crazy around Gotham looking for this young girl Jade, who has been given to Ivanescu, who Ivanescu's going to seemingly sell to this guy called the Ferryman so he can go across the Styx. I haven't a clue what is going on. And the thing that really kind of was like clunky was hashtag Backtracker. Spoiler leaves a note for Batman letting him know that there is this hashtag on social networks that allows people, whether they have villainous intentions or not, they will tweet, I guess, this hashtag saying where they have just seen the Batman, and anyone, you know, who has villainous intentions could use all these kind of spottings, these sightings of Batman for nefarious means. And I just thought, surely with all the computer technology and kind of gadgetry that Batman has, he would have already spotted this. And it just seemed to be a little bit of a clunky kind of plot device to, I guess, make Spoiler relevant, make her presence known to Batman, but it didn't really work for me. The artwork, a lot better than last week's, that's for sure, but still a very, very different, very strange, not Batman-esque at all. Who was it? Garren, I think, wasn't that it? It's Garren. He has a very strange style, and again, some of the characters don't really look like they have. Once again, you know, whoever's coming out to meet Bard always has to say his name first, so we actually know that that is the character they are talking to. It never ceases to make me laugh. You will find this in every single issue of Batman Eternal where Bard turns up in. Whoever he's talking to will mention his name, so we know it is Bard. It makes me laugh. I've come this far with Batman Eternal. I'm not going to stop this now. This is just kind of that middle weird area that happens with big series like this where, you know, it's not necessarily that the things have calmed down now because we've had our big opening salvo and they're saving everything again for their ending salvo, the big finale. It's just, it's all a bit messy. It's all a bit muddled. And this can't be kind of the New 52 reader friendly in the slightest. But I'll struggle on with it because that's the kind of comic book reader I am. Grendel versus the Shadow, book 2 of 3. I'll kind of keep this short because the last few books I've spoken a long time about, because I don't really know many people who are picking this up or who will pick this up. It's kind of a crossover between Dark Horse Comics and Dynamite. Dark Horse owning Grendel, I guess. The Shadow currently residing in the Dynamite universe. And it is another cracking issue. I'm not saying don't go out and get this. It's a really well plotted storyline from Matt Wagner. We finally have kind of Grendel and the Shadow facing off, and they both have now found worthy foes, basically. The both of them think they've had it pretty easy. One of them obviously fighting crime, the other being a crime boss. So now the two of them, they are quite equally matched. It's kind of, not only do they kind of meet on the battleground, so to speak, but their alter egos, Hunter Rose and damn it, I forget who the Shadow's real. Is it Cranston? I think it's Cranston. They meet at Hunter Rose's opening gala night for his book of literary genius, and Hunter Rose immediately knows that Cranston is the Shadow. Unfortunately, it can't be the same for Cranston knowing that Hunter Rose is really Grendel, and the kind of tension of that scene, it builds up so well, and obviously the kind of cliffhanger ending, having Grendel followed the Shadow back to his base. Are we going to see the end of the Shadow already? A cracking good story, very kind of the era, kind of, I think is it the 1920s kind of feel to it, but a really well told story, nice artwork. Matt Wagner, obviously creator of Grendel, he's written Grendel all the way through much of his kind of history, so he has a great handle on the character. Really enjoyed this. It is an expensive book, it's $5.99, but I think you're getting pretty much going on 40 odd pages in here, so it's worth it. Oh, how I loved Fiction Squad. It was such a fun book, and it just reminded me of how entertaining and clever comic books can be. I didn't realise, but I think this is a series that has been before. It does say in the top left hand corner, from the world of Fablewood. So I think there's been a series of this previously. I didn't know about it, but what we have is it's this literary land. It's kind of fable-esque, but there's this land, and it's been kind of section bordered off, and each kind of little constituent of this kind of Fablewood is a literary genre. So you have this kind of town of crime, you have this town of science fiction, you have this town of romance, and right in the middle, the largest part of Fablewood is I think it's fairy, and it's where all the fairy tale characters reside. And our character here in the middle, he is the detective of this kind of central area of Fablewood. And it's just Paul Jenkins so clever with the story here, using all the kind of fairy tale characters, the kind of environments that the characters live in, and we get the story of Humpty Dumpty, and he's fallen off a wall. Surprise, surprise. But was he pushed, or did he just fall? And we have this element of two warring factions, these two female warring factions in Fablewood, and it's all kind of the mob bosses, they're kind of grunts, but they're all characters from fairy tales. Alice in Wonderland's playing cards are kind of like rough, kind of bouncer type characters. Alice actually turns up in this. The artwork by Raymond Bax fits this book so perfectly. It is very cartoony. All your ladies are very busty and scantily clad. You know, you've seen that in Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man, when he draws characters like Mary Jane. This isn't something that he's just new to. He does like to make his ladies very amply breasted, should we say. But it was fun, and that's what I want from a comic book now and again. I don't need everything to be so damn serious and have so much serious implications to what could happen in the future. Just something to kind of, not necessarily zone out, but just enjoy a comic book without having to think too hard about it. Clever writing from Jenkins, fun art style from Raymond Bax. Give it a go. It's a 6-issue mini-series. It's worth a try. Boom Studios. Remender, Scalera, White, Black Science. They did it again. Why wouldn't they? I I can't just keep giving this my pick of the week or the best comic book I read, because it is always going to be the best comic I read. I can't imagine the quality of this book ever dipping. It hasn't yet, and I don't expect it to, because these guys have such a great pairing. I can't say pairing because there's three of them. Trioing. They've got this symbiosis, I guess, of working together, and it's perfect. The story by Remender is so well plotted and executed. The art by Matteo Scalera is just fantastic. He has this way of kind of really emphasizing the style of movement. You can feel the rush of cars chasing after each other, and coupled with kind of Dean White's beautiful colouring on here, it just makes it such a cinematic kind of experience, but within a comic book format. The storyline, we pick up with the two kids again to begin with, and they were hiding from this kind of group of ogres on this another new kind of planet dimension that they've been left on. And just as things start to look a bit bad for them, then these creatures come out of nowhere, and obviously adversaries of these kind of tribe of ogres, and they start doing battle. And it isn't until the young boy, the brother, jumps in to save a kind of baby child ogre, that these adversaries, these strange, they look kind of metallic, but at the same time they kind of look like crickets, but on just two legs. They notice the boy, and then suddenly you think there's something about the boy that these guys really like, and whisk them off to who knows where. And then at the end of this book, should have seen it coming. Whether it is the real one, again, if you've not read Black Science yet, please skip, because I don't want to spoil the ending for you. Go on, off you go. Grant's back. Yes, we have this amazing car chase. It obviously is in another dimension or another planet, however this Black Science portal works. But he's chasing after a villain. He has something he wants. We don't find out it's Grant right till the very last page, but there is this sense that this time he's going to do things right. Just another great issue. Just can't get enough of Black Science. Why can't this be a weekly series instead of Batman Eternal? Okay, so we come to our final comic of the week. It is, of course, the new Scott Snyder and Jock Image #1. It's Witches, and I really think you should pick this up because it was a stonker. Wow. Scary stuff. Shocking stuff. Scary stuff. Don't read this before you go to bed, please. It's interesting because right at the very beginning of this book, you kind of get this page of like a dictionary, an Oxford English dictionary, giving you the kind of definition of the word witch. You turn the page over and you have that same page duplicated again, but it has been scored through. There are like scratches through all the words, so you can't really make out what's actually there. And you already get the idea that Scott Snyder is going to show you something that you're not used to. You kind of think, maybe when you think of witches, you think of, I don't know, cauldrons, you think of the Wizard of Oz and the Wicked Witch of the West, or something along that, you know, a broomstick and a black cat. Very much Scott Snyder is going to show you something entirely different, something that you're not used to. From the very first scenes, this scared the crap out of me. You have this poor woman trapped inside a tree alive, and she's trying to kind of scramble her way out. And there is this little boy outside of the tree who we find out is, I think it's her son. And all she keeps saying is, I've been pledged, but get me out of here. And the boy picks up this stone, and you think he's going to help her, but instead he bashes her on the head with it. I'm like, creepy kid. And then we get thrown into present day, and we are introduced to this family who have just moved into a small town. As the story goes, we find out that they're not on the run, but they want to go somewhere where hopefully they are not known. And as the story progresses, we find out that the daughter of the family was part of, I guess you'd call, well, is it a missing persons? Is it a murder investigation? She is being bullied by this terrible girl. Evil is the only word I can think of. But just as this bully of a girl is about to throw down a tower of pain on this poor girl, we have a tree coming for her. And that's kind of the end of that. So we've got a little bit of a backstory. We know this poor girl has, been kind of mentally and physically, I guess the word abused or tormented for so long, and she wants to start afresh. But that kind of history, that kind of scenario doesn't disappear, and she meets up with someone who knows who she is. And as they're settling into this new house, there's this voice, and there's someone hanging outside on a tree. And is it the bully? It's really, really kind of scary. This is a mature reader. It's firmly in the camp of horror. I am going to absolutely love this book. I know I wasn't going to get it. I just thought, oh, it's Scott Snyder again. There's going to be so much hype to it. It's not going to be that great, but it is fantastic book. And with Jock's art style in this as well, makes it even more creepier. Definitely a book we should all be picking up here in the comic book community. Go out and buy it now. Now, I'm guessing this video has been very long, and for that I apologise. I know we all kind of worry about videos being too long here in the comic book community. I hope you've made it to the end and enjoyed everything that I spoke about in the comic books. Had a little bit of rant about Batman right at the beginning. But, we have weeks like that. So I'll be doing this all again next week, no doubt. So if you're new here, please hit the subscribe button. Then you won't miss out on any of my videos. On Monday I do a question of the week. On Wednesdays I do a pull this video, and I show you what books I've actually picked up. Just a little bit, 5-10 minutes long. So that's it. Hope you enjoy your books this week. I hope you have a great weekend, and put lots of comments down in the box below. Let me know what you've been reading. Did you enjoy Witches as much as I did? Did you pay that extra $1 for Batman Eternal? Not Batman Eternal, just the normal Batman title. Until next week, take care. Bye bye.